Welcome to a Coffee Talk with P3 special presentation. From now until September 19th, the Coffee Talk with P3 podcast is highlighting many of the theater and arts nonprofits participating in the Long Beach Gives Annual Day of Giving. Let's listen in to hear more from today's special guest.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Coffee Talk with P3. I'm John Peterson, Executive Director of P3 Theater Company, and I am here with the fantastic Sean McMullen of Children's Theater of Long Beach. Hey Sean, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing it. Hello everybody. Hello. I'm doing great.
I have known Sean for about 6 years now.
Oh yeah.
And I've worked for Sean. I've worked with CTLB, so I'm really excited to have this interview.
Yes.
Because I love the organization. I love what you guys do, and I think more people need to know about it so they can support, come see shows.
Yes.
And all that kind of fun stuff.
Yes.
So think back a few years before CTLB, Children's Theater of Long Beach.
Yeah.
How in the heck did you get involved in the arts?
Oh, that far back. Okay, that's how we were headed to what we were right before CTLB. Okay, so because that's a story too. But how I got involved in the arts is I had a very artistic family. I grew up surrounded by the arts, and my dad, I think, wanted to be a concert pianist, and but wound up being an elementary school teacher. And I grew up with him playing piano at home, and then I would go to work with him where he would either play piano or my grandmother would play piano because they taught together at the same school. But I always was taken into the auditorium where there was a stage and there were seats, and I didn't see the rest of the school. There was a parking lot right next to the auditorium, and it said Walters Theater on the auditorium. And so I thought my dad worked in the theater until I went to elementary school and found out he was a sixth grade teacher. But from 3, 4, 5, I thought I was coming to see he'd do 2 shows a year. One of them he would license, one of them he would write. And
wow.
Yeah, and my grandma would write the music. And so that's where I came to all of this, because I thought, I just want to do what my dad does. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, no, maybe I don't. He's an elementary school teacher. I don't know if I want to do that. So from there, I just continued to pursue the arts. I did children's theater in Fresno. I'm from the Central Valley, and I went to Performing Arts High School there that was originally called Roosevelt Performing Arts Magnet. It was back when all of the schools were doing magnet schools to kind of, as they were ending busing. Mm-hmm. Incredible school, has produced so many incredible people. And then worked at my local dinner theater, which is not laughable at all. Everybody goes, oh, the dinner theater, but Roger Rocca's Music Hall and Good Company Players is, again, also there. They have produced so many Broadway stars, the least of which is Audra McDonald.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's right, she is from Fresno.
She's from Fresno.
Wow.
Yeah, so and
cool.
The list goes on. Mm-hmm. So it was weirdly, I remember an art teacher saying, what does Fresno and dairy products have in common? And the punchline was, well, there's more culture in a cup of yogurt than in Fresno. and that wasn't really true. It wasn't true at all. So that's where, weirdly, Fresno had a great art scene and a lot of really interesting theater going on, and here I am.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
So you got started young and you made your way up. You went to performing arts school. You're an adult. You're married. Child. Just one child?
Just one child.
Just one child. One beautiful child.
Yes, just got married. Very proud.
Yay. And then all of a sudden this concept for starting your own children's theater comes along? Or you said there's a story leading into that.
Back that up. So just the one child. Kindergarten for me was when it was revealed that my dad was not a theater guy. But was my entry point back in. So I had graduated with my master's degree a few years before when Hannah was 3 years old, my daughter. And I was working as a freelance designer. I also found a job full-time at a place called George and Goldberg Design Associates here in Long Beach, wonderful people. And it was time for her to go to kindergarten. And so I'm sitting in their little auditorium, very much like the one that I was in through, and a clipboard comes by and it has all the different after school programs and like signups for it. And pretty much every line was filled in. There was like, chess club had a spot and there were 2 spots nobody had signed up for drama. So my wife and I look at each other and go, well, we're both theater people, let's do that. So we sign up, and the president of the PTA walks over afterwards. She's greeting everybody and she shakes our hands and says, thank you so much for pioneering our drama club. Oh,
that's what you're signing up for.
We're gonna build one that hasn't happened. Oh, got it. Okay, so we developed a curriculum and started with a thing called the World of Theater, which was kind of a children's version of theater history. And it went from there. We did that for about 10 years or so.
Oh, wow.
And I volunteered all the way through Hannah's elementary school journey. And then when she went to junior high, they asked me to stay on. We formed one company, which was not Children's Theater of Long Beach. And we did that for a little while. And then I realized this is bigger than I can do anymore. So a friend at the school, a parent, said, why don't you make it a nonprofit and become something that you can offer to other schools too? Because everybody kept asking us, how do we have this at our school? How do we do something like this at our school? And so that's when I looked around, and people that I've been working with for years said yes, they would be my first board. And many of those board members are still here to this day.
Wow. And that was, what year was
2013 was when we had our first meeting, but we were finally incorporated and officially a nonprofit by 2014. So this is our 10th year.
Happy 10 years.
Thank
It's you. Not an easy feat in this day and age.
No.
For a nonprofit company, a nonprofit theater company, and then with a pandemic in the middle of it all.
Yes. That was the big scare for all of us, I think.
Sure. Absolutely was. Wow. So, gosh, I've known you since it was 2018 when we met.
Yes.
During Pirates of Penzance that year, that I had to leave and go to Taiwan to teach kids myself.
Yeah.
But that was an experience of itself. That's a whole different episode. So that was you were 4 years in.
Yes.
So tell me about kind of the progression of when you started Children's Theater Long Beach. Like, what did it look like at that time compared to where you've gone in this last 10 years?
Sure. So when we formed it, we had this idea that it would be sort of 3-pronged, and we made it happen, which is really amazing. But we would have after-school programs that would rehearse and at that point perform at their elementary schools. Then we would have weekend all-school performances. So if the kids wanted to continue on after their school show was done, we would have 2 more programs throughout the year that would rehearse on the weekends that everybody could come to and be part of. And that we would have then family stage things, and that's where you came in with Pirates. And we partnered with another nonprofit at the time to make those happen, because we didn't have the ability to do it all ourselves.
It's a lot.
It was a lot. As a young organization,
Absolutely.
The partnerships that we had back then were crucial to us still being here today. So, but it was a lot, but we started slow, and little by little, we started the main stage program with the partnership. We had our one elementary school. That principal from that elementary school was going to a new elementary school the next year and said, come over here and start your next after school program. So we were invited there, and so we had a program at Fremont and at Bryant. And so just little by little, we've added. We've had people who wanted us to really, put the gas on and speed into things. And I've been blessed with a board that knows how to pump the brakes. Sometimes it feels like, I think when you're starting, especially a nonprofit, but any business, that you want to get to your end goals. You want to get to those 5-year goals by year 2. You're like, I want to move faster. But you have to take a deep breath and look at your plan, and we did that. We stuck to our guns and just moved forward slowly. And so here we are, 10 years later, 8 elementary school after-school programs. We have the 2 weekend programs, and we have 2 family stage programs, and they're all sustainable.
That's amazing. Sustainability really is the key word in everything you just said.
Yes.
Because if you can't continue it, and if growth is in your vision, and if you can't do that, then you might as well just pack it up.
Right. Right. A lot of folks, I think, get very excited about looking like they're a 25-year, 35-year. The Playhouse is what, 90 years old now?
Yeah.
Long Beach Playhouse.
Yeah.
And their productions just look like $1 million. And it's like, you can't year one look like the Playhouse, or God, you can't look like Musical Theater West year one.
Boy,
it's like,
do I know that. I found that out the hard way.
It's if there are a few companies in Southern California who managed to do it, but they did it because they either lucked into a huge pot of cash or just had a lot of investors like right behind them to write a check and make it look that way. Yeah. We didn't. We scraped together our money, and I think we basically started with $5,000 or $6,000 in our bank account. That was it.
Wow.
And I didn't mention it, but I went to CalArts. That was the place that I graduated from with my master's degree, and I was taught there that if you have ingenuity and anything around you at all, as long as you're not in a completely empty room, and even then, you can make theater. You have to look at what it is you're attempting to deliver, and that's how we've done it. The longevity, when people have come alongside of us to help lift us up and give us influxes of cash, we've always said, okay, where do we want to put this? Do we want to put this in a long-term investment, or do we want to go ahead this time and flash and dazzle it? And it's been, the board goes long-term. What's the thing we need for 4, 5, 6 years down the road? So there we are. Here we are.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So this is one of the easier interviews for me because I know you personally. I've worked for you.
It's fun. We're just having coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
And water.
I'm sure that's not vodka.
Well,
it's noon somewhere.
yeah.
But there are two highlights for your specific organization that I would like to speak to, having experienced or witnessed both of them.
Yeah.
One is so your after school program, which the arts in the lives of youth is an amazing thing. It's tremendously beneficial. Can you remind me the school that I worked for you?
You were at Whittier. Whittier.
And that was the first year that school had this program. Is that
had, to my knowledge, ever had a program.
Ever
I believe there wasn't a long memory there. I don't think they had teachers going back a long time, but I believe that the principal said in anyone's memory who was currently working in the school, there hadn't been a theater program there. And I believe that was also true for Barton, which was our other school, and the funding from those came from the Munzer Foundation. We wouldn't have been able to do
I
that.
remember that because I had the opportunity to meet them during that process. Well, so being a teaching artist and a director and a theater producer myself, this was the first time I had really, other than when I was in Taiwan teaching, this was the first time I had ever done anything like this with children of the 3rd, 4th, 5th grade ages who had never really been exposed to the arts. And my personal journey and what I was able to witness with Betsy, who was my co-teaching artist, she was the choreographer, I did musical director and direction, to see these kids from day one, and there were a lot of them, and they were enthusiastic, but they didn't really know what they were getting into.
Right, always.
And they were unruly, they were unfocused, somewhat argumentative with each other, somewhat argumentative with us. But to take them through the several weeks, and it was about 3-month to 4-month process.
3 month process.
Through that whole process, seeing each of them come into their own. Through the discipline that you bring into the programs, through the opportunity for them all to shine, because that was really what we were trying to do. Even if they weren't Willy Wonka, we wanted to make sure everybody felt special and that they were a part of this, and that we couldn't do this production without each and every one of them. And then fast forward to the end of that process, and the show was great. The kids were fantastic. The parents were thrilled. And it was like a team, a family. And to see that process through the arts with these children. That's an amazing thing that you bring to these children in these schools.
Thank you. That is exactly why, it's very well said, it's exactly why we do what we do. We put our names down on that clipboard back at Fremont because we had watched our little child try all sorts of different things, on the playground playing with kids, and the thing that she kept gravitating to, because of course mom and dad were in theater, was theatrical things. So we knew our child needed a space, and we would be very happy to be involved in providing that space for our child. And as we worked on and developed that initial program as volunteers, we saw what it did for all the other kids. And self-esteem was the buzzword years back.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like people still don't give it as much weight as it needs. Because I feel like people are like, oh, self-esteem, you're just talking about everybody gets a prize and everybody feels good, and isn't that?
Mm-hmm.
And no, everybody in theater works for the good feeling that they have.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't about just rewarding people and making them feel good about just walking into the room. Every single kid there works really hard to put that show on together as an ensemble, and that's our focus. That's the key, is that we are together in this and we're building the show together, and everybody's part is important.
Mm-hmm.
We often do things like, pick shows where we can break the lead parts apart and cast multiple people in those lead parts. I don't think you got to be one of those shows, but we're coming up next year on, we're going to be doing Frog and Toad, A Year with Frog and Toad.
Nice.
And we use puppets in that, so that for every scene that Frog and Toad are in, it's going to be a separate set of kids.
Ooh, nice.
So that way I can cast, I think it's like something like 20 frogs and toads.
That's so cool.
Right? And so they are an ensemble of leads.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no one child who feels like, well, it's really my show and you're just all supporting me.
Right.
Which is really never the case, even in theater at all.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
So true.
Yeah.
So true.
At any level, yes, there is the lead and sometimes they're the draw, but the show isn't going to go on without the chorus line.
There is a lot happening that makes that show happen, both on stage and off.
Yes.
So that is just, it's such a fantastic thing. I was in tears at the end of that performance. It was just, talk about rewarding.
Thank you.
It was very, very rewarding experience, and I think the kids felt the same. They got their reward with a standing ovation, and a lot of people proud of them.
100%. We are, just to dovetail into that, something you may not know, we have added another component besides just what theater itself does. And theater teaches, we were always teaching, adding to those things where, like, especially for the leads, in acting, what is your goal? What is your tactic, right? How are you getting to where you're getting? What is your character doing, right? And you can reverse apply those same things to your own life.
Mm-hmm.
But now we have, oh boy, I'm gonna miss the count here. Becky, Colin, Mary, Jackie. I hope I'm not missing anybody. We have 4 therapists on our board. And they have upped the ante by adding social emotional learning components to our curriculum. So we begin all of our rehearsals not only with vocal warm-ups and physical warm-ups, but with emotional warm-ups.
Wow.
Right, so we're very actively talking about the emotions that you're going to feel at this rehearsal, and the tension that you feel when maybe you're not as prepared as you thought you were, or you're not getting that step, or how to handle those emotions so the meltdowns that we often experience in theater don't happen, because kids have tools now.
Wow, that's tremendous.
Yeah.
And a lot of people out there, the general public, if you will, who are not in the arts, who enjoy the arts, they don't necessarily grasp the process we as actors go through. And when you've got youth that are at a very formative age, that are coming upon all of these new emotions and all of these new things in both life and on stage,
Yes.
To have that type of support is really amazing, and
Yes.
it can really help them, like you said, cope and get through that process to where you can do it.
Yeah, we do a little breathing thing. One of the first things we teach is to, do this with your finger and breathe in as you go up and breathe out as you go down. And that, if if you are having strong emotions, you can do that to calm down. And the first time I saw a kindergartner select themselves out of rehearsal, sit down, and start doing this completely unprompted, I was like, it's working. This is the thing. It's doing. And she was just breathing, and there were tears welling up in her eyes. And then she calmed down. I said, what happened? Are you okay? And she goes, I just felt like I couldn't do it, but I think I can do it. And then she got back up on stage and went right back to rehearsal. But she was having those feelings like,
that's huge.
I don't think I can do the dance. And yeah. So it's an amazing process to watch the kids, not just get through the whole process, but those little wins at all of the rehearsals.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So exciting. I did not know that you guys had kind of up to that.
It's pretty new.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty new. It's been there under, the surface, because there is social emotional learning that just comes along with producing theater. We all have those techniques that we use to manage our emotions through the process, and we've taught them to the kids, but this is really importing stuff directly from therapeutic social emotional learning into the process and injecting that into this so that they have an even bigger toolbox.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So the other thing I wanted to bring up that I experienced and more so witnessed with Children's Theater of Long Beach are the family programming that you do with one of my favorites that you guys have done 4 times now, Pirates of Penzance?
Yes.
So
yes, I love that show.
Your CTLB family, adults, what would you say the range of your cast, the age of your cast was?
That cast was, I believe, 7 to 7 or something.
So that's
it's huge range.
Children of all ages, as I like to
Truly.
say. And they were, because there was so much fun and joy on that stage. But what I've witnessed that CTL brings to all of the family members who are involved in a production, be it on stage, off, you guys have everybody work on everything.
Correct.
So everybody has an investment in the production, the performance, and if there was nothing else that was amazing about the show that I saw last week, which it was so much fun and fantastic, but was the love and the joy that was on that stage of those actors and actresses doing what they love to do.
Yes.
And through the process of building costumes, building set pieces,
helping with props,
choreography.
Yes,
because I know you had someone in the cast choreography.
We had multiple people.
Yeah.
So that it's not just a single person. We had different choreographers for the different groups. There's sort of 3 different groups. There's the police, the progeny, and the pirates. Mm-hmm. And each group had a different team of choreographers. And then we had a fight choreographer besides that. So again, we try and involve as many people as possible into the process.
It makes for such a well-rounded artist, if you will, because you don't have just your lead singer, your Mabel, singing her fun coloratura stuff. You've got a Mabel who maybe is helping sew costumes in the back, who has painted a set piece, who has, you've got, and I love that because it just makes for a well-rounded artist. Yes. And again, it gives everybody an investment in what you're doing, and I love seeing that.
Yeah, it truly is our show at the end.
It's
something that we can all look at and say, we did this together.
That's great. Is there any other programming that we haven't touched on? I know I came in with kind of a little bit of an agenda because I talk about those things all the time. The little time I worked for CTLB, it really did make such an impact.
Thank you.
And I can only imagine. Well, I know I've hired people to be on my stage that have worked for you.
Yes.
And what they bring, one of them being your daughter, and Kelly George, were in our Funny Bones, and just seeing the professionalism that they bring to a stage and to the production. Yeah. I mean, up until the first performance they did for us, and we had an ongoing cast, so they were replacements. I was the one bringing in all the costumes and all the props and everything and setting everything up. And then I was the one breaking it down at the end of the night. And I was also in the show.
Right.
Well, I'll be darned if Hannah and Kelly weren't both
that's their ethos.
Packing things up. And
that's their ethos.
Like, that would make things a lot easier for all of us.
Yes. That's the ethos. That's the ethos. And that comes from, I have to give credit all the way back to Roosevelt Performing Arts Magnet and all those teachers there, and Dan Pisano at the Roger Rocca's Music Hall and Good Company Players. That was the ethos that we were taught. I'm just bringing forward what came from that cradle, which was, this is our show and we're all responsible for it, and nobody just carries a ladder at strike. Right? That was the joke. Okay, who's going to be carrying the ladder? Who's going to walk around here looking like they're busy and they're not doing anything? Put that down and actually help.
Yeah.
And we weren't allowed to get away with being divas in any way. We weren't treated special. And because everyone was special, there wasn't one person who was more important than the other. So all those people that they produce that are now, I think the reason that they get work out there is because they come with that ethos at their core.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then they carry that into life outside of the theater too.
Yes.
Especially again with the youth who are in their formidable years. Sometimes it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks, but they've stuck around long enough. They've learned the new tricks. But
yes,
bringing what an asset to the community to be able to work with these children. So many different schools, a pretty wide age range, and they're going to be going out into the world with this attitude that's only going to help improve and make everything better.
That's the hope. Yeah.
Love it.
That's the hope.
Love it. So, well, we all know it's not cheap to produce a show or to have classes. You've got teaching artists, you've got everything else involved that you see on stage and things you don't see backstage, equipment.
Right.
And ticket prices are pretty inexpensive.
We don't charge top dollar.
It's so. What percentage would you say, if you have it at the top of your head, of your budget do ticket sales cover?
Well, that's sort of different for each segment. But I think ticket sales overall, if we were just to put them all into a basket, it's probably a third, maybe less. So everybody thinks that you do theater for the ticket sales, and you do because you want butts in the seats.
Of course.
But no, funding, even Broadway funding, has to come from elsewhere, and then they recoup their costs because they run it and run it and run it and run it and run it. And most of us don't have that opportunity, right? We don't have a theater that we could rent for indefinitely and run the show, right?
Right.
So we do have to find other resources.
And we all know that individual donors are fantastic to have. That's actually where probably a bulk of things come from.
We do. We have a lot of individual donors that we are so grateful for that have been coming to our galas for years, and also just donating every month. We have people who just have a heart for us, and their checks show up every month, which is a huge blessing for us.
When you're trying to budget for operational costs and things like that, when you have recurring donors, even if it's a small amount,
right,
it makes a huge difference because you know what to expect somewhat that's going to be coming in.
Yeah.
On top of hustling for the rest of the individual donations, writing grants.
But those help pay the recurring bills, because there's an awful lot of recurring bills. Even if we don't have our own space.
Right.
We rent space everywhere. So we're still sort of itinerant circus folk, actually. But there's still overhead that comes through every month, and those folks are crucial to making sure we meet those bills.
Yes. Yeah. Grants and sponsorships.
That is the bulk, I think, and we have been granted monies from the ports of Long Beach. Most recently, they were the folks that helped us put on Pirates of Penzance. The Munzer Foundation, I think I mentioned earlier. We've gotten grants from I always say it wrong, but the Long Beach Arts Council, or is it Long Beach Council on the Arts? Thank you. I know it's very specific wording. They have granted us monies to put on shows in the past. We used to do a series, we're trying to bring it back, called the Inspirational Child Series, and they were crucial in helping bring that. And it was about children like Helen Keller, Sadako and the Thousand Paper Cranes, Ruby Bridges. So kids whose stories can stand as an inspiration for other children. It's pretty wonderful stuff. And we've gotten state grants, and it's
And
then Long Beach Gives.
Right. It's a lot of work to get those
Yes.
grants too. So
Yes.
time consuming. And if you are hiring a professional grant writer, they don't come cheap.
No. Which we don't have. We have board members who pitch in. And
Which is fantastic.
Yes.
Fantastic. And do you guys also rely on volunteerism? Aside from your performers,
Yes.
outside of that, like
Yes.
to do what types of
everything. So from coming in and helping us, because we all of us who rent places, we have tight windows for setup and tight windows for tear down, because there's somebody that was right before you and somebody that's coming in right after you. So often you have to tear down that night because somebody else is starting on the stage on Monday. So parent volunteers are our biggest group of volunteers. We have, hundreds and hundreds of kids in our shows, so we have access to hundreds and hundreds of wonderful people who will rush to our side should we need help.
But that doesn't mean that you couldn't use a few more.
Always.
Wink, wink.
Always. Let us know if you want to help. We don't turn anybody down because, not everybody's schedule, it isn't like all 5,000 of them show up at once.
Oh my God, could you imagine?
Right. But there's always somebody there, which is wonderful. I know that, if I put a shout out, somebody will come alongside me and help out. So it's good.
That's fantastic. So if someone wanted to, make a donation to Children's Theater Long Beach, check out your upcoming programming, volunteer, find out more information about your programs and what you do, where would they go?
They would head to info. We can email us at info@childrenstheateroflongbeach.org. It's a long title. And theater is spelled R-E, not E-R. All one word, Children's Theater of Long Beach. You can also check us out on Instagram. We have a pretty active Instagram, Facebook page. And on the website, which is just childrenstheateroflongbeach.org, you can find a give button and you can go there and give directly to us. So go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, and every little bit helps.
Every little bit helps.
And I'm sure when they go on there, they have the option to do a recurring donation, correct?
Yes. You can do one time or recurring.
And then there's another way coming up.
Yes!
People can help too, which is what brings us together today, on top of being able to share the amazing work this organization is doing in the community. We have the annual Long Beach Gives campaign coming up.
It's very exciting.
Big fundraising campaign.
Big fundraising.
If you've not heard of it before, it is very similar to a Giving Tuesday, the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, where people all around the world participate and they give in different ways to their favorite organizations, nonprofit. The Long Beach Giving Day, we are in our 6th year. And have you guys participated since the beginning?
No, I think we picked up about halfway through, so I think this is our 3rd year.
Okay, so it's basically a community-wide fundraising campaign where there are currently over 240 organizations that are taking part in this, that has programming in the city of Long Beach, and that is coming up on September 19th. Early giving is September 12th. What that means is the website will be open to accept donations anytime, starting on the 12th through midnight, the 19th, going into the 20th, that you can go on to longbeachgives.org. And you can look at all of the 240 nonprofits that are on there. You can filter by the cause. There are 16 different causes that are represented in Long Beach Gives, and then you can click on each individual organization. That's where you can also find out more about the organization. We all have profile pages, and that's where you'll be able to make that donation. You don't have to wait until September 12th, however. You can go to childrenstheateroflongbeach.org, THEATRE, and you can donate anytime. But if you want to be part of this really exciting campaign that's been running 6 years now, that really helps us give back to the community.
Yes.
It's amazing. Every dollar that is donated to any of our organizations goes right back into the community. We don't take billions of dollars. Like, I just heard there was a sign-on bonus for the new Starbucks CEO who's getting a $13 million sign-on bonus. So we don't make those kinds of salaries. And that's not why we're here to make those kinds of salaries. We're here for the love and the community and to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
As cliche as it sounds, it is the truth.
Yeah. No, it's truly we were very mindful about picking our name. There's lots of people get very cutesy about their names, and we wanted Long Beach in our name because we are here to lift up and support the children of Long Beach. That is why we do what we do. So, Long Beach Children's Theater.
Yes.
Children's Theater of Long Beach.
And I love it. It's, for people who are watching this that maybe aren't in the Long Beach area,
Yeah.
it is one of the most diverse populations.
Incredible. We truly are an international city.
It's insane how much culture there is here of the different cultural backgrounds, the different economic backgrounds, the different socioeconomic backgrounds.
Yeah.
You literally have everybody.
Yeah.
The
It's a
entire
wonderful
world is
place.
represented in this one city,
Yeah.
and it's a joy to see.
It is.
It's so exciting, and that's one of my favorite things about being in this city.
Me too.
And I don't live here, but I lived here for a couple of years in the 90s, and I've always loved Long Beach,
Yeah.
and that's why our theater is here as well.
Yeah.
So any last minute appeals or programs that we didn't touch upon, or
I think
words
we talked,
of wisdom?
Yeah, the only other one we really hadn't talked about was the Inspirational Child series. We really are looking to bring that back. We might start again with the Diary of Anne Frank in 2025. That was the first show that we did for that series, and so we're looking to bring that back. And then for Long Beach Gives, as I said, we have this vision for long term. We are looking to find a space this year so that we can call some place home. Mm-hmm. And we are actively seeking that out. And we are, again, it's been infrastructure that we've been raising money for, and it will be again this year. So if you would like to help us fund more lighting and sound equipment, you can see exactly what we are going to purchase with the money that we raise. We're going to try and raise the most amount of funds that we've raised in the 3 years. We've been slowly increasing it. And we've met our goal each time, which has been very exciting, exceeded it both times. And we have those materials now. I mean, you heard the difference, I'm sure, at our last production.
Yes.
And saw the difference. There was more lighting, more sound.
And the set was a lot more involved.
And the set was more involved.
Yeah.
Yes, we've been involved in building pieces that we can reuse and reuse and reuse. So, so infrastructure.
Excellent.
And a home.
And a home. Homes are important. You spend so much time and resources in every time you put something on, because you have to get everything that's involved with whatever the location is that you have found for that production, and you have to put so much into that.
Yeah.
And it's different the next time you do it if it's a different space.
Yes.
And if you have your own home, it's all there.
It's all there.
And you have more opportunity to spend on the human resources rather than the other resources.
Yes.
Excellent. So that's childrenstheateroflongbeach.org, THEATRE, the fancy way, and also longbeachgives.org for information on the Long Beach Gives fundraising campaign. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, John.
The founder and executive artistic director?
Just executive director.
Executive director of Children's Theater of Long Beach. Thank you so much for joining us today.
All right.
We'd like to offer a special thank you to Stage Explorations, Buell Brown, for producing this series of Coffee Talk regarding the Long Beach Gives campaign. We would like to thank the nonprofit partnership for allowing us to use their space to do the filming as well. And thank you, all of you, for all you do to support the community. Catch you next time.
Long Beach Theater needs your support. We hope you will consider donating on Long Beach Gives Day to all the theater and arts nonprofits that are participating in Long Beach Gives on September 19th. If you could donate to all the nonprofits participating with Long Beach Gives, that would be awesome too. Remember to mark your calendar and pass this date and video on to your work colleagues, family, and friends. Please support the Long Beach nonprofit community on September 19th. Go, 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 Long Beach Gives Day! To learn more about the Coffee Talk with P3 podcast and the nonprofit theater behind this podcast, go to the P3 Theater Company website at www.p3theater.biz. That's P3theatre.biz. And if you are a theater and arts nonprofit that would like to be highlighted on a Coffee Talk with P3 podcast, or you know a nonprofit that should be highlighted, please email me, John Peterson, at john@p3theater.biz. That's Jon John at p3theater.biz. We would love to start a conversation with you and your nonprofit. Looking forward to enjoying another coffee and discussion with you in the future. Long Beach Theater needs your support. We hope you will consider donating on Long Beach Gives Day to all the theater and arts nonprofits that are participating in Long Beach Gives on September 19th. If you could donate to all the nonprofits participating with Long Beach Gives, that would be awesome too. Remember to mark your calendar and pass this date and video on to your work colleagues, family, and friends. Please support the Long Beach nonprofit community on September 19th. Go, 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 Long Beach Gives Day!